Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, and again, thank all of you for your very insightful testimony. And before I say anything else, I want to thank you, General, for your service to the country. There's nothing more honorable than that, and again, we're in your debt. All of you as well, obviously, but the General has served in the armed forces, and to me, there's no more honorable way to serve our country. Really, a couple of questions. General, I was glad to hear that in your last statement you talked about personal responsibility, and my concern is, being again a Floridian and seeing how Florida is way ahead of the curve. Not perfect, nobody is. These are human institutions. But one of the reasons that it works so well is precisely as you said, because there's an insistence on making sure that individuals know what our responsibility is, and we're constantly hounding that you have to be self-sufficient for 3 days. In case, worst case scenario, water, food, whatever it may be, medicine for 3 days, because you cannot necessarily count on the government coming in for those first 3 days. You hope that they will be, but you never know. Number one. Number two is that obviously we also have to make sure that we don't let the locals and states off the hook by thinking that the federal government can solve all our problems, because ultimately, federal government doesn't have fire trucks, ambulances, rescue. Those are local, and actually not even the states. The locals have that. The states have a great responsibility. When we look at Katrina, one of the many things that we saw that was, obviously there was a failure of FEMA, but there was huge failures on the local level. Buses that weren't used, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No amount of federal government intervention is going to be able to solve that. And you mentioned that, and I want to just kind of, if you all want to comment a little bit about that, because my concern is that's why I'm so excited that Mr. Fugate, by the way, is the new director. We could not have a better person. My concern is that we don't overreach to a point then that the states kind of hang back and the local governments kind of hang back and say, this is a federal responsibility, we don't have to do as much. If you can just, if you want to touch on that, and then I have another question for the General once we touch on this, however you all want to touch on that.
I do want to address that. The reality is, and you're right, the reality is that we're talking a lot about the response side, and that has to be dealt with. But if we were doing the right thing, what we do is avoid the response. And that's where mitigation comes in. And who has the authority to prevent these disasters from creating tomorrow's disasters? It's the state and local government, because 99% of how you prevent them is land use. Don't build in the wrong place. Don't put your critical facilities in the wrong place. On and on and on. That's land use. The federal government doesn't have any authority under our Constitution for land use. It all rests with the state and local government. And until we devolve that responsibility to them, along with the money we keep throwing at them, this problem isn't going to change.
Congressman.
Yes, sir.
I'm in the latter phases of my local government career, and in fact, 626 days I will retire.
But who's counting?
But who's counting? And I'm taking these last two hurricane seasons as a tough love. I'm looking my citizens in the eyes and saying, the economics are bad, you don't want to pay taxes, you don't like local government because your taxes pay our salaries, and you're voting to lower us, and we're laying people off, then take responsibility. In my community, well over 80% of the people are physically, mentally, and economically capable of taking care of themselves. I just need to give them some guidance of where to go and stuff like that. The other 15 to 20% are the elderly, the infirm. Those are the ones that government can take care of. But I can't sort through healthy people who are just milling around to get to those people. When I tell them to evacuate, evacuate. Don't discuss it. Get in your car and go. Okay? When we tell you to pre-register and you're an 83-year-old woman that lives in a trailer in the center of the county and you have no family and you have all kinds of medical devices and we've got to come get you, we got to know where you're at. They don't want to register until the storm is 100 miles away from Tampa. And that's a big logistics problem of getting to them. Personal responsibility. The Conestoga wagon days, remember that from your history? The people marching westward? The lady was pregnant, she had her baby, she just got off into the bushes, had the baby, wrapped it up, got it back in, and started marching to Oregon. Be responsible. Be resilient. don't count on your government for everything. If you do count on your government, we will all fail you at one time or the other, because we don't have the resources, manpower, and capabilities of being all things to all people. I have 1.2 million people that reside in my county. If I had to reach out and touch every one of them individually, it'd take me 3 years to talk to them. So please, help us. Personal responsibility. It's your responsibility. You live in this country. Be prepared. The general's right on. Preparedness is where you're at. It'll save you money, save you time. Hurricane Wilma hit in 2005 in Broward County. Within an hour after the wind letting, people were queuing up in the points of distribution wanting their water. And I asked them, where is your hurricane kit? Congressman, you're from Florida. You're supposed to have a hurricane kit, right? And we asked them, where's your hurricane kit? Duh. There was thousands of people standing in there. The storm had just left.
Well, we had the case in Dade County where people were waiting in line to get water when we did not lose water, and all you had to do is open your tap and drink the water. But so...
Yeah, so anyway, personal preparedness. That's my message for the next 2 years. And then if you need help, we'll come do it best we can. Take care of yourself. Thank you.